to go down. Everybody in the place hit the fucking deck, but stay on your motherfucking toes. We running this, let's go.
Oh my god, Andrew, Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande broke up. Do we give a shit?
No.
Yeah, we don't give a shit. Let's not talk about it. We saw it coming. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to I'm on a Podcast, the weekly SNL recap show, where we talk about the sketches, the hosts, the musical guests. And today we have episode 3, season 44, Seth Meyers, Paul Simon.
Yep.
What did you think of it overall?
My favorite one so far.
It was your favorite one so far?
So far. So we had,
I can see that.
Yeah, we had Adam Driver, solid.
Aquafina, good.
Good. But this one really stood out for me. I actually watched it twice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Like, that's a big test for, like when we were younger, we would watch it, the episodes over and over again.
That's true.
It's actually kind of like, obviously now we don't have that much time, but it's good to actually test if it can, like, stand the test of time. I mean, obviously it's only been a couple days, but...
I thought it was good.
So, Seth Meyers.
Yeah.
Coming back home. Well, not a week. It was a joke, actually, that he...
They did in the promos. It actually hasn't come that far, but I thought it was great. Like, I thought that, I mean, he's exactly what you expect him to be. He was solid in all the sketches. He was funny in the monologue. I thought it was good. I thought he was a good host. Like, he came on Update, which is good, which people expect him to be, which is funny. So yeah, I thought it was great.
Somehow, I never thought of him as like, oh, when is Seth Meyers going to come back? Like, when they listed him, I'm like, obviously. I was surprised that he's hosting, but, like, he's an obvious choice to come back. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I guess he kind of is. I actually wasn't sure what he was there promoting.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's just his late night show, obviously, but I guess it was just kind of random that he was there. But it's cool.
Like, very often these hosts that used to be cast members, they don't really promote anything. It's just good to see them again, and it's like coming back home. And
I think Seth was definitely known more as a writer than as a cast member.
And it shows in the sketches this week.
Yeah, because he's like known as being a great writer.
Yeah.
And he was head writer.
Yeah.
And the sketches were really funny during his time. And you can tell his joke writing is known for being like really good, really slick. He's really good on late night on his show. I would say like it's a separate conversation to have, but I don't think his late night show is maybe overall the best, but the joke writing on it is like definitely like top notch.
You know that he's I just learned that he's one of the fewer, not even though, maybe it's the only one. He doesn't have notes. He doesn't read like his questions or anything.
He doesn't have the cards that you normally have.
Talks.
He just goes off his head when he's talking to the guests and that. So yeah, no, he's great. But as a cast member, he's fine. Like he's solid, but he's not like a Will Ferrell or a Kristen Wiig or like a Bill Hader, even like one of those from his generation, one of those like iconic cast members who has great characters and has huge range. He was more just like solid, and which is kind of what he played in this episode. Sure. But off the top though, I wanted to say about the cold open.
Yeah.
Before we even get to the monologue and the host. What did you think of it?
And then if you hit that Chicago, some people call it Chirac, but the murder rate is going down 20% every year. And pretty soon it's gonna be a negative murder rate. We're gonna be digging bodies out of the ground.
Wow, this guy can talk. He doesn't stop. He doesn't listen to anyone but himself.
I think I've watched that 3 times actually.
So you liked it?
I love it. I mean, like, to be honest, there's no writing in there. I saw this clip on YouTube that's basically like a montage of that sketch and the actual meeting of Trump and Kanye West, like kind of playing like back to back, and they actually use the same lines.
And that's my problem with it.
Yeah? Okay.
Like, I think I watched it and it was funny, but can we actually say that it was funnier than the real thing? Like, I think if you watch like the real news footage of Trump and Kanye talking, it's funnier than the SNL sketch because it's just so crazy. And that's part of my problem with it is that with some of the Trump stuff in general and some of the Kanye stuff, is like it's hard to satire something that is already so ridiculous. Like, you can't go more outrageous than they're already being. So you end up just basically repeating lines that they've already said. And in that case, it's like, well, what's the point? Like, I understand from a expectation standpoint and a politics standpoint, they kind of have to do it. Like, everyone was expecting them to do it, and everyone is gearing up for it. Like, people knew that they'd bring Alec Baldwin to play Trump. They knew they'd find someone to play Kanye. I was happy that they brought Chris Redd, like someone from the cast, and didn't get like another celebrity. But in the end, like, it was just kind of like, yeah, okay, you're repeating what they said in the news, basically. Like, there's no take. You can't, I don't know. That was just my opinion.
No, I think that's the right opinion. It's just like, these are the times we live in, and this is what happened. And it's kind of like harder to write anything funnier than the reality in this situation. Yeah. I think I'd rather focus on the fact that Chris Redd did a great impression, which I'd love for him to repeat.
Yeah.
Because it actually like shine a light on like what great delivery he can have.
And I'd love for him to do it in another sketch, in another context. But just this one, it was like, I think just the news clip is the funniest thing.
But they could develop something really cool, like a Kanye West show kind of a thing.
Like the Nicolas Cage thing.
Or there was that Antonio Banderas thing back in the day. Like something really cool like that. I think it was solid. Yeah.
Well, then after that, you get into the monologue, and this is where I'll test your knowledge a little bit of Seth Meyers, because he gave a little bit of his bio in the monologue about how long he's been on SNL. He was obviously the head writer there for a while. Then he moved over to the late night show. Overall, I thought the only thing I'll say about the monologue is I thought it was great. Seth is funny. I liked the Kanye story that was in there, which ended up making a big part of it.
Amazing.
But again, the only thing I'll say is like, for the last couple weeks now, rightly, they've been, ripping on Kanye, and that story was kind of a weird sort of behind the scenes look at like the craziness of Kanye. But it was kind of like they were ripping Kanye for like being this crazy person, and essentially saying like, oh, this guy's crazy. Who would give such a guy like a platform to talk? It's like, well, you do. Like he was on your show last week, like, and it's not like that's the first time he's done a crazy thing. So I don't know if it's a bit like manufactured kind of jokes. Like, we'll have Kanye on, hopefully he'll do something crazy, and then we've got 2 weeks worth of jokes to like write about it.
But it's not the first time that kind of what happened on SNL is feeding the episodes. Like, like when the Ashley Simpson thing happened, or I don't know, Steven Seagal, they come back to those things.
That's true, but all that stuff is kind of stuff that happens accidentally or just quirks of a live show, right?
Yeah.
This was they actively invited for their season opener a person they knew was going to do something outrageous.
They were hoping for this.
They were hoping for it, and then knew that they would write some jokes about how outrageous this person is and why he shouldn't be, why we should all stop listening to him because he's a crazy person. But it's like, if you think we should stop listening to him or whatever, why are you putting him on the show? I don't know. It just seems a bit manufactured.
Yeah, I know. Like, I hope it's going to stop, because it has to stop. Because how much should we talk more about Kanye West? I don't think so. Like, let's not feed his craziness.
Yeah.
Basically, like he's growing more powerful because of us talking about it.
Exactly.
Maybe let's even stop talking about it on the podcast.
Exactly. I just wanted to like sort of get, like, because it just felt a bit, not hypocritical, but a bit kind of like manufactured jokes and manufactured content from their own that they kind of made themselves. How much do you know about Seth before he came to SNL?
Nothing.
So most people, there's typically like 3 ways, at least in the past or the recent past, that people get on SNL. You're either a stand-up, just a straight stand-up, and you get spotted.
Let me guess, that's not him.
No, it's not Seth. You're either, or you're part of one of 2 different sort of sketch comedy groups, Second City or The Groundlings. So like The Groundlings was like where Kristen Wiig came from. The Second City is obviously famous for having a lot of the old cast members, your Martin Shorts and people like that. He actually came from none of those. Before he was on SNL, he was a part of a sketch comedy company called Boom. So they had Boom Chicago, started in Chicago. So they had Boom Chicago, Boom Amsterdam. He was a part of Boom Amsterdam. So he and now Oscar award-winning director Jordan Peele were both a part of Boom Amsterdam.
Really?
And and then along with Seth's brother, whose name I believe is Josh Myers, were in a comedy troupe or sketch comedy group in Amsterdam in the late 90s. And then he came back to the States and got plucked from there to go to SNL. And then Jordan went on to Mad TV, and then obviously on to Key and Peele and all the sort of success he saw.
I had no idea him and Jordan Peele had
There's actually great, if anyone's interested to go check it out, there's a good interview that when Jordan comes on the late night with Seth Meyers, where they talk about their times in Amsterdam and all the various like weird sketches they did and stuff like that. So
he actually lived in Amsterdam for a while?
Yeah, he lived in Amsterdam for a couple of years, at least I think 3 years in the late 90s. And they in that interview that I was watching with them, they were making all sorts of like niche Amsterdam jokes about like what would be now called King's Day, but back then was Queen's Day and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. Okay, wow, good for him.
Yeah, so that's cool. He has a bit of like an interesting background.
Do you want to go into sketches?
Yeah, let's go into sketches.
Yeah, that's good. There's a lot of them.
There were a lot of like
which is good.
Solid sketches this
week.
week.
A lot of solid sketches. Maybe I have like two kind of bad ones, but they're not because of like bad writing or the bad idea, I think, which is different from the last 2 weeks. So let's go into the good ones.
Well, hit me. What was your favorite one?
Oh, I got a lot of good ones, and I actually have two suggestions that, to me, if like well written, well developed, could go into maybe regular sketches.
Okay, go for it.
All right, so my favorite one, I think Frightening Tale.
Yeah, that was mine too.
Yeah?
He asked me if I could get a coffee with his friend's son.
That's no big deal, right?
A 22-year-old recent college grad and aspiring filmmaker.
That was great.
Okay, good.
Again, though, I'll go back to something I said in the first episode. Not a sketch.
Not a sketch, yeah.
Like, how many times we've only done 3 of these now, but in the first episode we were talking about previous seasons as well. When was the last time you really loved a proper sketch? Like, not a pre-taped...
I think this week. I mean, maybe
but that wasn't your favorite one. Your
Yeah,
Frightening Tale was pre-taped. So, I don't know. It was still hilarious.
Great simple idea.
Yeah.
It kind of made me think of myself, to be honest.
I felt a bit... I was laughing at the end when they say, like, when the joke is, oh, you want to come on my podcast? We talk about old Hollywood. And I was like, oh, cringe. That's kind of what we do. But anyways.
That was my favorite one. Then I love the one... what do you call it again? The one with the gator, you know.
I don't know. Something about the bayou. I don't know. Yeah, the one. It's the weirdest one of it. There's a chili. There's Seth Meyers, a gator, and some person who looks like Colonel Sanders or something from Louisiana.
Seth, who that don't gonna be next that you don't think take over that there post?
I'm sorry, I cannot understand a word you're saying.
Or Seth, who that gonna be next you think gonna take over that there post?
Are you asking a question? I can't tell.
But in a way, it's so SNL, and I love that.
Yeah.
You know, like using the whole cast, and everybody's dressed in weird costumes that they probably picked for themselves. You know, everybody had a say in the character.
Yeah.
And then I thought like Beck Bennett could make that his like little staple thing if he wanted to. It seemed like people reacted to it really well. And it's always good when like there's sketches that they can like throw a celebrity in and like a wacky character, and that's why they had like a little Taylor Swift there that they didn't really use the opportunity there with having Taylor Swift impersonation, but they had like the weird cookie. I thought that maybe had potential to be something that Beck Bennett could do.
It was for me like it was a weird one for me because on paper that should be by far my favorite sketch because I love when they just go straight weird and there's almost kind of no point to the jokes, or the jokes are just there to be weird. They don't necessarily make sense. But for me, it was partly that I couldn't really understand what he was saying. So that was funny for a bit, but then eventually I kind of lost it a little bit, but whatever. It was funny. I do like it.
I'll go for the other ones like but so far are we kind of the same?
We're agreed.
All right. So I'll go for the other ones pretty fast. Awesome with the Bill Cosby thing.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Maybe went on for a little bit too long, but very solid. Kenan Thompson right there.
Yeah, he does a great impression.
He does a great one.
Yeah, that was good. I
And
like that.
the whole Quincy Jones thing was pretty funny. Then Trees. I like that.
Trees was good.
man. Get the car, Trees. Bitch, I be loving these trees. Loving these trees. Trees. Bitch, I be loving these trees. Loving these trees. Make that seed work. Right in that dirt. Make you a tree. I planted all of these trees. That's a whole
Good.
lot.
But I have to say it was good, but it wasn't the best of Pete Davidson's kind of rap parodies.
No.
There's been better ones, but
I
that
think in
one's good.
general, this episode was more like Chris Ratt's Little Opportunity. And
Yeah.
even in that, he was pretty funny. I was like, hey, man, that's not the kind of trees
Yeah,
we're
it's
talking
funny.
about. Not the wrong.
He's so good.
He is good.
He's really good. He should really get more opportunity to show his skills.
Yeah. Because, for him, it has to be very kind of aggressive, weird characters.
Yeah,
Like,
he really goes for
yeah,
it.
when it actually like reaches like freaking 11, and
Yeah.
he's just being crazy. That's why he did Kanye so well. That's why he does rappers so well.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
they're so
Yeah,
exaggerated.
that's true. But I have to say, this week was definitely Heidi Gardner's week.
Oh wait, damn! I was gonna say the same thing, man.
Okay.
Oh, let's get to it when
No, that's
we
good.
talk about who
No,
on the
'cause
episode.
I want to say, because I was so, like, it sounds weird, but I was so happy to see her.
Yeah.
Because you can tell she does, like, at least a few things really well. She probably does lots more
Mm-hmm.
really well. So I was really happy, like, to see her get some more, like, characters and more time just to explore. It sounds stupid, like, just explore her range, see what she can do.
I mean, I guess it's like a little spoiler alert. I guess like, okay, she won the episode. Let's talk about it later. But
Yeah.
yes, I'm right there with you. She was great.
She definitely won the episode.
She definitely won the episode. And I want to just have a little moment talking about the traffic stop. Sketch.
What was it called again? The
Well, on YouTube it's called Traffic Stop, but they're
Thirsty Cops. Yeah.
Song officers, am I in trouble?
Oh, yeah. We might even need you to go downtown.
Do you like to go downtown?
Look, I know what you guys are talking about, and this feels like harassment.
Okay, harassment or my assment.
All right.
So I thought that's a great, like it was definitely written by Ego
Yeah.
Nadim with Leslie Jones.
Yeah.
It seemed like something that they wrote. Good start for her.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a very strong sketch. Maybe it could have been my favorite one if, okay, I'm going to pitch to you like what I thought like a better ending for it would have been.
Okay.
Seth Meyers is playing like this like the straight guy, and like
Yeah.
he just feels awkward because they're all like
Yeah.
giving him those comments. And they're like woo, woo, all that stuff.
Okay.
What if at the end he kind of goes with it and he kind of responds also like with like a kind of comment or something, and that's when they get like, sir, get down on the floor. Like they get aggressive with him and actually like kind of how like police would react, like when he kind of goes along with it, like it actually turns back. Like I felt there could have been stronger ending to it.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. I mean, every time I think I could rewrite it better, I always think like,
Yeah,
I don't
obviously,
know,
like,
I have
I think
literally
they could
no
have-
idea what I'm
They
doing.
could have executed it better probably
Yeah.
than I'm describing it.
Definitely, I would bet that they might bring that back.
Oh yeah, like that's the next sketch I was thinking like, you know what, that could be a regular.
Yeah,
you know?
it was good.
Have like a whatever, like a whenever you get like a handsome host or
Host.
something that
Yeah, or even Kate McKinnon's part in that they could give to a female host
Yep.
if they had it. I think that was really good.
This could work. Now, should we go for like meh really fast? What's meh to you?
I mean, a lot of them kind of. The Beta Force,
Yeah.
that was kind of, it was funny, but it's kind of meh. The IFC sketch,
Which one?
the one where it's Seth and Kenan
Oh,
Thompson sitting in front of
movie
the
talk.
cinema.
They're like
I mean,
a-
Leslie Jones was funny in that.
Yeah, no,
where-
they did cut up a couple bits, but obviously it's just like kind of a basic SNL sketch.
Yeah, the jazz sketch when you're at the end with
Oh,
Kenan
yeah.
Thompson. I really, that's a series one that they do again and again. I really like that one. I thought that one was kind of
Yeah,
meh a little
for me it was
but-
bad, and it's actually I could tell that him and Keenan are having a good time. It actually gave Seth an opportunity to wear a costume and have like the
Yeah.
crazy Kenny G kind of a look.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you're saying, it didn't go anywhere. It was like a 2-minute filler.
Yeah, but we gotta get to. So I think all those ones were kind of meh. But for me, it's again for like third week in a row, all about Weekend Update, particularly Heidi Gardner with the Goop impersonation or Goop employee impersonation. It was like spot on.
So these two lotions are tied for number one best supporting lotion. They're duking it out and
Yeah, I actually like the smell of that one.
yeah. Can you smell all the number ones in there?
Yeah, okay.
She does that kind of Valley Girl, like ditzy, stupid thing, like really, really well. It was such a good take on that because the funny thing was that when they brought her out to do the kind of Goop bit, I was kind of like, oh, my initial reaction was kind of like, okay, cool, but like, I don't know if you've seen, but like Stephen Colbert on his show has done a bunch of like Goop parodies.
I think I saw that, yeah.
That are really, really funny. And he's gotten like a lot of, like they've become quite big on YouTube and stuff like that. So I was thinking like, oh, are these going to be as good as those ones? Or are they going to be kind of a ripoff of that? But she was hilarious. Like she played it so well.
It's funny for me with that bit that she did because it kind of like, when I was watching the first time, kind of went by for me.
Yeah.
But then I rewatched it twice.
Like the way she did her voice and everything, how she sounded like she was about to cry. And so it was hilarious. And then that even set her up to do well in which it was, to me, it was kind of a mess sketch, the dinner sketch, where there's the Cuba one, where, I mean, yeah, it's kind of mad. The joke is saying Cuba like a bunch of times, which is funny, but she's good in it. Like she plays that character really well. And, after watching her earlier in the show on Weekend Update too, I just had like such like good feeling for her that I was like laughing at that sketch as well.
I mean, for me, it was one of the bad ones, but I can see how it's like a meh because like she was good at it. Just like it was good at the start. It was like a 4-minute sketch, I think, which could have been like a 3-minute thing, maybe. But to me, just like one of those, it's like the Vermont sketch with Adam Driver from the first one, which is kind of like it's based around one thing. Yeah, and they. In general, I'm not the biggest fan of like those dinner sketches. Maybe there's no reason to talk about the Weekend Update too much because it was, as always, solid. They brought it back.
For the best. And really, you know how crazy Thursday at the White House was? Kid Rock was also there, and no one cared. It was almost a relief to hear someone as reasonable as Kid Rock was in the White House. You know how hard it is to make Kid Rock seem like the adult in the room? His first name is Kid.
He came back and like did something on Weekend Update.
It seemed like he's happy doing it as well.
It was funny. I kind of thought Amy Poehler was going to come out.
A little bit, yeah. But I think they've done that on his show. On late night,
yeah, they have
a bunch of times. So maybe they didn't want to do that.
But it's speaking of Amy Poehler. I don't know if you noticed the subtle little kind of shout out to her that Seth Meyers did during the first break for the music, where he introduced Paul Simon.
No, I didn't notice that.
He was wearing a T-shirt that had from the movie Inside Out. The Pixar animated movie that had Joy on that sort of character Joy.
Yes, she does the voice.
And she does the voice for that, and he was wearing that shirt when he introduced Paul Simon for the first song.
That's cool.
And then he also, at the end, speaking of his T-shirt game, I don't know if you saw at the end when they were doing the goodnights, he had another T-shirt on that had a bunch of names on it. And I was like, that's so weird. Why is he wearing that? But he had the names of his wife, 2 kids, and his dog.
No shit.
Yeah. His dog's name's Frisbee.
It's pretty nice.
It's kind of
you're really on your T-shirt game this week, Andrew.
Well, no, because it was just weird, because I thought it was some sort of weird brand that I'd never heard of that had like 5 names, but anyways.
Actually, let's talk about Paul Simon before we go.
Okay, I think we're going to have some differing views on Paul Simon.
Well, maybe, probably. But it's important to mention what Paul Simon means to the show. I actually read up on him. There was a whole article, which was kind of great, of what actually Paul Simon did for the show.
Yeah.
And apparently...
For those who don't know of Simon and Garfunkel fame.
Yeah, exactly.
Bridge Over Troubled Water, The Boxer.
Sound of Silence.
World famous.
So apparently, let's do some stats on Paul Simon.
Go for it.
Hosted 4 times.
Yeah.
9 times musical guest, including this one. 6 cameos. Altogether 19 times on the show.
Yep.
So fun fact, he was introduced to Lord Michaels by Edie Baskin, who is a photographer, or maybe who was a photographer on the show back then. And they kind of kicked it off straight away. And Paul Simon actually really wanted to host the first episode. And Lorne Michaels kind of told him, nah, maybe not this one. But he gave him the second episode spot.
Yeah, George Carlin had the first.
Yes, because he felt that he wants to kind of figure out the show first, see how it's going to go, and then he wants to have a big host like Paul Simon as a second episode host, just to like keep the momentum going, keep the word of mouth and all that, which was kind of cool. In his episode, the second one, the 1975 one, was the first time Simon and Garfunkel kind of got together after their breakup in the 1970s.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, which is kind of like a cool moment.
That's cool.
Then I don't know if you saw the bit that he did dressed as a turkey. It's
you know,
really
I
funny.
said when the turkey concept was first brought up, I said there's a very good chance I'm going to end up looking stupid if I come out wearing it. I mean, everyone said, oh, it's Thanksgiving, go ahead, you know. I felt it was not in any way in keeping with my image, the lyrics, the boxer, any of those songs. They said, hey, you know, you take yourself so serious.
I think him and Lorne Michaels are like really good friends. I think that's the kind of...
So there's a fun story that Kenan Thompson once went to Lorne Michaels' apartment in New York, and it was all pimped out, but then he saw that his kitchen has a door that connects with Paul Simon's kitchen, and they can basically go into each other's
They live in the
apartment.
same apartment building, essentially.
Apartment, yeah.
Like, and have like connecting rooms.
Yeah, dude,
connecting kitchens.
How
That's
funny is
crazy.
that? Yeah, so like he's been a big part of the show. He's like part of like the Five Timers club. Although he hosted 4 times, but he got like special privileges to get in there.
And it seemed that he celebrated his birthday at the end of this episode. He
77.
turned 77.
You know, actually, I think there's a connection to him actually being on the show with Seth Meyers. He played on the episode also that was post 9/11, right? And he played the boxer.
Yes, he did sing that song. Yeah.
When Rudy Giuliani said that line, and that was also Amy's and Seth's first episode.
Yes, I actually went back and watched that section of that show, like maybe like a month ago or something, and it's so weird to watch back now in the context of Rudy Giuliani.
Oh yeah,
because now he's just this crazy person, but back then he was like a hero. He was the mayor of New York.
Everybody loved him,
and he was like standing ovation and applause on Saturday Night Live, like this New York institution, and like hugging Lorne Michaels, and he seemed like a normal person, more than a normal person. He seemed like a great person at the time. To watch it back now, you're like, man, what's happened? Anyways,
let's wrap it up.
But well, no, just to go Bridge Over Troubled Water sorry. Because that's the classic one, and the crowd loved it, and I think it was a nice. Looking back at it now, it was a nice way to cap off the first 2 weeks where you maybe had, I don't want to say less traditional artists, but less traditional performances. It was nice to see that like classic live SNL set of a classic song by a guy who's done it before.
It definitely brings you back to what SNL performances used to be, right?
Yeah, it was nice from that perspective.
Okay, but before we go, I'd like to introduce a new segment called People's Choice.
Okay.
Where basically let's go through the stats from YouTube and see which sketches were the most popular among the people out there online, and just
from the previous weeks.
Yeah, from the previous weeks, see how they compare to what
the ones
we thought.
That we liked. Yeah, see if we have popular taste or not. Okay.
All right.
So you've got them there.
I got it. So
which week do you want to start with? The first week?
The first week, Adam Driver. So remember, what was your favorite one?
Well, my favorite bit of, are we counting, now, here's the thing, are we just counting sketches, or are we counting Weekend Update clips, or are we counting cold opens?
Digital shorts and sketches.
Sketches. I would say the most popular one on YouTube from the Adam Driver week was the classroom one, where he plays the old man who comes in and is talking to Pete Davidson.
Correct.
That is
4 million. I told you so. Boom.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was you. That's okay. Fine. I can see how that one is the easiest one to go viral.
2 million of those views are just me. I loved it.
All right. All right. The Aquafina week.
Aquafina, surprising. My favorite one was the Ted Cruz rally, which I knew like that's not gonna do anything.
Yeah, I like the magician one. The Do You Want to Date a Magician?
It was the emergency alert, 1.8 million.
Yeah, that's a very U.S. But it was only 1.8 million, and the Adam Driver one was 4 million.
In general, the views from the first episode were much bigger than the second one. Obviously, the more time passed,
and it was the premiere week, so
yeah,
that's fair. Yeah, that the emergency alert one is very like U.S. centric one because I think that was a big deal at the time in the U.S. So people were probably like looking for stuff about that. Oh, that's interesting though.
But it's still, you said the magician one, it still had 1.3.
Yeah.
Although I didn't like it because of the cracking up and all that.
Yeah.
It broke character a bunch of times. So still, I guess people like seeing people.
Yeah. I think for this week, I think A Frightening Tale gets the most views. And I think it's my favorite.
Tough to call it. Yeah, maybe you're right.
Or Trees, maybe, because people like a rap parody.
Maybe Trees. Although you weren't like a big fan of it, but
it was fine. But it's the type of thing that could go like because people like
rap
parodies.
And Pete Davidson.
Yeah.
So, wrapping up.
I think so.
Heidi Gardner won this episode. It's good. I'm happy.
I hope we see more of her. Hope she does a goop bit again for something else.
I think she could replace. I think eventually Kate McKinnon is going to leave us, and she could replace her.
Yeah, with a different style, but she could definitely do it.
She could be the lady of the show.
I was super happy that she got that time.
Yeah, no, definitely. I want to see more of her. It was very strong. She had a couple sketches, great. And in general, very good episode. Good to see Seth back. More sketches than like kind of, I don't know, filling it up with digital shorts.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't work out, that's still good when they're trying.
Yeah. And then they are taking a couple of weeks off after this. And then I think back on November 3rd or 4th. Mm-hmm. And then with Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill.
And the musical guest is?
Maggie Rogers.
All right, that's it.
Let's wrap it up.
Thanks for listening. See you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and we still don't care about Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande.
Can I just say one thing about that before we go?
Say something.
Isn't it how I think is actually kind of funny that he predicted it himself?
Yeah.
That when he was on Update talking about his summer, he said, if we break up, well, we won't break up, but if we break up.
You think he knew at that point, like, this is not going to work out? Maybe
we're really showing that we care about this a little bit.
Yeah, okay, we do care a little bit because I called it. I knew it from the start.
I want to see them do a bit about it. I want to see him come back on Update and now maybe that's a bit cruel to ask him to come on Update and do jokes about it now. But if you're going to make jokes about yourself getting together with someone and make a big deal out of it on the show.
I think he's going to do it.
I think he's the type of guy who would. I think he's like so cares only about what's funny and he knows it'd be funny if he does it that he doesn't mind doing it. Like, he'll go for the joke no matter what.
Dude, we're overanalyzing Pete Davidson again. Like, let's stop it. This guy gets too much attention from us. Goodbye.
All right, goodbye. For next week.
That's it.
Goodbye.